welcome to another video in the Blade series. I'm John, and this is Scott. On this week's video, we're going to discuss how scammers are using AI to fake DMCA notices to scare businesses. Scott, it was only a matter of time before we had to talk about the big bad wolf in the room, AI.
Yes, that's true. That's something a lot of people are fearful of, and as we know, it's also a great tool, too, at times.
So, and so, as Scott said, along with all the good it can do, there's also a lot of bad, and what's happening is just one example.
Right.
So, before we get rolling, I didn't know the answer to this, so don't feel bad if you didn't either. What is DMCA?
DMCA, that's the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998, or DMCA. It provides a framework for resolving copyright disputes over digital content. So things like, movies, music, ebooks, that kind of stuff, right? So you've had, people that would take movies and rip them and put them online. So this is when the DMCA gets invoked, and they get a letter saying, hey, you can't be doing that. It's copyrighted information. You can't just be giving it away. So that's the whole goal of it, because legitimate DMCA takedown notices are a common legal tool to enforce these copyright protections. Otherwise, it'd be the Wild West out there. Remember Napster, right?
Yep.
It would be that type of situation. So, the one thing that, using the tools that we have at DMCA, now we're finding that the widespread availability of AI tools are making it more complex to defend against DMCA type letters, because as we're going to see, it makes it a lot easier for these guys to find somebody who's potentially offending or maybe looks like they're offending and sending them scam letters and try to get paid.
Oh my, okay. All right, so now that we're all on the same page, let's get into the questions. So the first one is, what are fake DMCA notices and how are they being used?
Fake DMCA notices are fraudulent copyright infringement claims. They're just basically saying, hey, that piece of video you have on your YouTube site is actually mine, and now you have to pay me for it or take it down. A lot of times these letters are called takedown notices. Take this stuff down. But scammers, what they can do is use AI and other tools to make very professional looking legal documents to intimidate a business into complying with their demands. And there's a lot of different things they can do. They can have additional fees being caused over this, having backlinks to their site for negative SEO purposes, which means essentially it'll damage the business's reputation. Perhaps they could be saying, well, look at this company here. John's company is taking all my video and they're distributing it for free, and that's wrong. Now, so basically it's a scam. All they're basically doing is trying to scare you into taking this down or whatever. And basically, the bottom line is money, right?
Okay.
They want to get paid.
They just want the money.
And that's how it works.
All right, so again, nothing new under the sun.
Same old stuff.
So, one of the questions I have was, how does AI enhance the effectiveness of these scams?
Sure. Well, that's the thing. One way that AI can really help scammers is that it can help them identify potential companies they can go after. Maybe they go to a company and there is a YouTube video on their site, so they can use that. Maybe, perhaps 95, 100% of the time, it's completely theirs, it's no copyright violations, but again, it's the fear. It's the fear factor. They'll find that and they'll say, hey, we saw this video on your site, that actually belongs to so-and-so, you can pay us this much, and da-da-da-da-da, because you're in violation of a DMCA.
Got it. Okay, so they're going to look at things that you've published and just say that, hey, by the way, you used Huey Lewis in the news, and you're like, wait, no, I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. and a lot of people are going, and the smart scammers, what I've seen in this, they don't ask for the world in money. They ask for an amount that makes it, a couple $1,000s maybe. Maybe then you have to sit there as a business owner going, how long is it going to take me to figure out what's going on?
Where I messed up.
Or is it just easier to write a $2,000 check and be to the back of it? So that's why before you do that, make sure that you understand that don't be sending the money to the scammers. You're just funding a criminal enterprise. So do your due diligence and take it from there. These type of situations could cost you a lot of money, number one. Legal expenses, you got to get lawyers involved generally. You can damage your reputation if it gets into the media saying John's company is hosting copyrighted music without any permission online. And you know how that can go in social media and all these other things. And it also can just steal time from you, from using your time for doing something productive to doing something to try to manage this crisis.
Wow, okay, so that's definitely a bigger impact I wouldn't have put that much weight behind it, an impact on that, but it's bad. So
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely, and that's the thing. We recommend generally if you get any legal notice like that, in my book, that goes to your legal counsel.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to be unless you're a lawyer. You don't need to be reading these legal documents. And I spent a lot of time in the courts and working with lawyers, but there's no way that I would get one of these and not just send it on to counsel.
Yeah.
Because it's their job to figure out, is it a scam, is it not? A lot of times, a lot of law firms use cybersecurity professionals like here at Blade to help identify those things, and that's something we can certainly help with. But as a business owner, if you get this type of DMCA notice, yeah, that needs to be kicked right on over to legal counsel and make sure. Also, then if you think it's a scam or it's proven to be a scam, be very careful. You might be getting phishing emails with malicious links. There might be people that say that they're trying to help you, but really they're in league with the scammers. All these type of things. If you get on their radar, they could come after you with both guns. And it's not only just your typical social engineering stuff, right? Where you're trying to convince somebody, but you can take these AI tools that are a lot of times free and other ways and maybe make a deep fake audio and have it sound like it's the CEO talking, saying, hey, pay this money. Happens all the time. Tools out there are free, and it doesn't take a whole lot of technical expertise to do this kind of stuff. And in fact, with a deep fake audio, if you have about 3 to 5 seconds of somebody's voice, you can turn that into basically make them say anything you want. And think all the TikToks, your Facebook, all that stuff out there could be used by the bad guys to harvest your voice and then make it into a deep fake voice.
So then it becomes a digital persona of you, but it's not.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And if you're going to social engineer somebody, having the voice of the CEO telling the accountant to write a check right now is a very powerful tool to have in your toolkit.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that's some good advice on how to protect them. So another thing is, can you explain how scammers are using the AI to create the fake legal doc?
Yeah, that's part of it. And I was really surprised to see all the really nice looking fakes out there are available as templates today for free. So they probably don't have to use a whole lot of AI anymore to actually create these documents, but it can help. Let's say they're going after a company here in St. Louis. So then they'll be able to, AI would help them formulate their demand or takedown letter in such a way where it seems like it maybe came from a St. Louis law firm or maybe a Chicago law firm. Kind of keep it away a little bit, arm's distance, right? Harder to follow up on, and so AI can help you make those decisions. They could create, unique logos, unique names of law firms, unique websites to make it look like it's a real law firm. So let's say you get a letter from Allen, and Allen, right? And you get this, and it's like, oh gosh, who is this law firm? And you type in their URL, and it seems like they're real. So then you start sweating a little bit, and that's what the bad guys want you to do.
So then you're starting to talk about, because we see this type of thing in like spam and spear phishing.
Yes.
Where they'll use the AI to develop digital personas.
Absolutely.
And they'll build websites and LinkedIn profiles. And so basically they're taking that technology and just putting it towards
You're absolutely right. I know you and I see that a lot with people trying to sell us stuff.
Yeah.
All the time. And it used to be really easy to pick out the ones that were machine generated or are not well written. But now they all look slick and they're all very chatty and very friendly, and you can they almost sound like the same person in different voices, right? It just has that, I'm starting to get something of an ear towards the way these things are written. If you remember, if you remember, not that long ago, in email we'd always key on the word kindly.
Right.
Because it's not something we use a lot in American English, but in British English, it's kindly do this, kindly do that, right? And a lot of people in Africa and Asia who learned English learned British English. So they say things like kindly, which is an unusual turn of phrase for a Midwesterner. But that's all gone now, I've noticed. That everything seems to have that same, generic Midwestern American type of vernacular, and everything's very good. And that's where AI can really, it doesn't do the job for you, but it makes all your ancillary materials that much better. Yeah. So when you pull the trigger and go after somebody with a takedown notice or a demand notice, then it looks like you've got a real law firm that has real clients, that has a real address and all this, and it makes the person again sweat. So the mark starts worrying. If you worry, what's going to happen? You're going to make a bad decision.
Yeah.
So again, if you get one of these, just call your lawyer and don't worry about it. Just give it to your lawyer.
Yeah, and so that goes back to, what people are looking for, right? So the urgent notices,
Oh yeah, always
activity.
the call to action, all that stuff. It's all, well-known social engineering effects, and that's exactly, what now you add AI into the mix, and now it becomes even more of a powerful tool to social engineer people into doing things they wouldn't otherwise do.
Yeah, that's totally true, because like, if I think about even the way I use, like Copilot, for instance, we were talking about earlier, I use Copilot to do certain things like draft questions or whatever. You can tell it to, look at this person's profile, make something that's going to be appealing to them. So it's all the same exact things, just very highly targeted.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. You may bring too, John. They can actually do that same sort of thing about the potential mark, right? And kind of work up a psychological profile of them, and that gives them just more ammunition in that social engineering toolbox. So when they pull the trigger, that's one more thing they can throw at you.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, I guess the next thing we need to address is what are the long-term consequences of falling for one of these?
Right. Well, if you fall for one, let's say you do fall for one, you get the notice, you pay the money. Okay, you're out the cash. So that's obviously the number one thing. But also, it's always going to affect your reputation. That's going to be something, if it gets out, and it most likely will, you'd be surprised at things that don't. But if it gets out, then it's going to show you as being, number one, not having the greatest cybersecurity
posture.
Yeah, exactly. Number one. Number two, no better person to sell to than someone who's bought from you before.
Oh, there you go. Repeat clients.
Repeat clients. No better person to scam than has been scammed before, right? Because they're on the list now, and that's what we call the list. You're on the list. They know that you have the capabilities to fall for a scam. You will be on that list, and someone will try to get you again. So that's another one of those intangible long-term consequences that you can have.
Oh, goodness. So, yeah, once you fall for it, guess what? He's a mark now.
You're on the list.
So, All right. So, how can businesses ensure that they're prepared to handle these things?
Right. Well, really it boils down, John, to, a good cybersecurity posture. Gotcha. It's funny, we talk about AI being involved now in cybersecurity, and really the things that we need to do as end users is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Strong passwords, follow up. If you get a message from somebody asking something strange, like for money or something, follow up by calling them and that sort of thing. I know a lot of people are more getting used to having like a password with their significant others when they travel, because there's these travel scams also using, the deep fake audio where somebody calls and says, "Hey John, this is your daughter. I'm in big trouble. I need some money right now," and it sounds just like her. You're probably going to send her money. See, this is one of those things that you just need to be aware of that can really cause problems out there. So, training's key. You have to understand that. You also have to have a cybersecurity framework in place. If you're going to do anything cybersecurity at a business, you have to adopt a framework. It doesn't make sense to try to do it yourself. You're probably not an expert, and these frameworks have been around for a long time, and this is how you start. It gives you a good running start at things. And it's not something you have to do in a year or even 5 years. As long as you're working the problem and getting better every day on your cybersecurity, that's the biggest way that you can really handle threats like this.
Yep. Yeah, that's the engaging a cybersecurity expert is definitely something you should be looking into, and that is my final thing. And that is, what role does Blade Technologies play in helping businesses combat these threats?
Well, that's something here at Blade. We provide comprehensive cybersecurity solutions to help businesses protect themselves from all kinds of different cyber threats, including the fake DMCA notices we talked about today. We can give advice, give you some proactive measures and support, and if something does hit the fan, you have a existing relationship with a cybersecurity company that can jump right in, instead of you have to frantically go through the yellow pages trying to find someone to help you out when that day comes.
Yeah, this goes back to something we talk about on almost every video that has to do with cybersecurity. Engage when you're not on fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a depth and breadth of cybersecurity knowledge that most normal people couldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. One of them is sitting to my left. The other one being Justin, and then Alan being our certified ethical hacker. So we've got some deep coffers there. So
But you're right, it really helps. If we are in there, if we show up for the very first time and meet you and your hair's on fire, it's probably not going to be as good as working relationship as if we built some rapport and we have some idea of what you have in place, and we'd be much more effective then. So it's kind of like a you pay us now, pay us later type of deal. You really need to have that cybersecurity professional in your book, so when the day comes, you have somebody to call. They can help you walk you through the process.
Yep. So, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, always verify information that's requested of or given to you when it comes to your personal or business information. So, Scott, thanks again for your expertise.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks all of you for watching. This is John and Scott from Blade. Take it easy.